He genuinely saw me as his creation. I deny the fact that he created me. God created the body parts that he put together that became me.
It was a dark and cloudy night, and I noticed something in the road ahead of me. It was a wolf. The wolf leapt up and leapt on me and bit me severely. The following evening, alone at home, I'd started to feel a sense of change.
When I was born, I was definitely sensitive to the sun. It hurt. It would almost burn. I'd open my eyes at night and I could see very clearly, like you're seeing in the sunlight. I became bloodthirsty, going out at night and draining people of their blood.
My first friend was a little girl who used to come on the property owned by Dr. Frankenstein. And it was a wonderful thing for me because even the lab assistants shied away from me because of what they considered my hideous looks, and the looks in turn engendered fear. But the little girl wasn't frightened at all. And she became not a playmate, of course, but a companion. Some kind of terrible accident befell this little girl. And for whatever reason, the townspeople just decided that it was me. I think it was, they didn't have a reason for that misfortune. And somehow people have to have answers. And I just seemed to fit the bill. And so I was literally run out of the lab and out of town at night by people with torches screaming. It was a howling mob. It was a terrifying situation. I had done nothing wrong, and here they are out to, I think, kill me. I think it was a lynch mob. I don't think they were going to bring me to the sheriff.
He's, I think, treated unfairly by people who are frightened of him. And he really didn't hurt that little girl.
To use a modern expression, I think I've gotten a bum rap.
He's such a big guy that any little guy gets in under him, he'll stomp on you.
The many crimes, let's say, that have been attributed to me, for the most part, are false.
He doesn't do it accidentally. He does it just for pleasure. He loves to make people beg.
I don't believe that people find him to be evil.
I did many things that could be arguably called criminal acts, but I was trying to survive.
When you really think about it, Frankenstein isn't smart enough to be evil. He's a dope. Okay? Evil, you want to look at a dictionary at the word evil, you'll find a picture of Dracula. This is evil. This is an evil man in an evil guise and an evil form of a bat who does a despicable thing. He drinks people's blood.
I don't feel that I'm evil. I'm just hungry. Just like you get hungry and want a nice big steak. You just because you cook it, it doesn't make it any better. So I like that warm blood.
The worst quality, of course, is his obsession driven by the need for human blood.
I have to hunt down people in order to live.
Dracula is not a likable person.
Don't let me catch you alone. I'll drain your blood.
He's a very, very intelligent creature.
That's repulsive. Drinking blood from young women?
That is my great desire for beautiful women. I think of them as soft and delicious. The taste of their blood is sweet.
There's a certain pathetic element to his situation. He's not what he is because he wants to be. He's what he is because of what he is.
When I don't get my blood, I get weak. And weakness is my downfall.
Dracula and the Wolfman and I were on the fringe of a small town. We had hoped to be able to go in and find food and sustenance, but it was just a little too dangerous. And Dracula was becoming weak.
It's what he is. He's a vampire, and he needs blood to survive.
He was trying to fast. He recognized our disapproval. We had become fast friends, but we'd never been affirmative, I guess is the way to put it, towards his need to go and drink blood from people's throats. And while we weren't judgmental, we certainly didn't pat him on the back and tell him just go ahead. Well, he sensed that. And he stopped, and he tried for 3 or 4 or 5 days. I really don't know how long, to go without his needed blood.
More blood. And more blood. Then I want more blood.
And he was getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And at that point, we were detected by the townspeople, and they started to chase us. And we just scattered in all directions.
My soul has been taken a long time ago. So I have no souls, I have no morals, I have nothing except feeding. And that is my main goal, is feeding.
I think he's not, deep down, really happy that he drinks blood. He may not like the taste of blood, but it's something he has to do.
Oh, I've known the Wolfman for about 500 years now. He hasn't changed any. He's a devil himself, and he's worse than I am.
You know, sure, at night when I'm the wolf, I rip people's limbs off and I eat them, but that's not like drinking blood.
Particularly at night, if you rubbed him the wrong way, as the expression goes, he could become pretty violent and quite dangerous. But that was his nature at night. He was a wolf.
The wolf is a very frightening animal to most people, and properly so. The wolf is up to no good. The wolf terrorizes and attacks and maims and mutilates and kills. And that adds, I think, to people's fear, knowing what wolves can do.
He has a kind of a temper like, and he doesn't like to be messed with.
Some part of the wolf characteristic does revisit itself in me when I revert to being a human. My ability to control feelings, particularly anger and rage, is lessened, so that I have a shorter tolerance for discourtesy, rudeness, all manner of things that seem to rise up in me to a greater degree than I think they used to.
So I think fury is one of his biggest downfalls. But I like to pick on him.
I'm not an angry man generally, but now I just feel the sense that I could be explosively angry over the most trivial things.
I would have to say that Dracula was the brains of the group.
It's usually Dracula who takes the lead.
I kind of try to lead the way. I try to be top dog, what you might say.
Frankenstein's quality is his strength.
For want of a better term, I was the brawn.
He can smash, break, destroy, lift anything.
I did the heavy work.
He's bigger than all of us, huge, but doesn't have what we would call leadership qualities. So that leaves me, Wolfman, somewhere in the middle.
The Wolfman was the messenger, the gopher. And that's logical because 12 or so hours a day, he could mingle in regular society in a way that Dracula and I could not.
I, on the other hand, have some agility and speed, not as much as the bat for speed, but as the wolf, I can cover a lot of ground.
Between the three of us, it was a pretty good balance, and we weren't jealous of one another.
Frankenstein, he got a little disturbed over me being the top dog or the head guy, and he was back in the corner talking to Wolfman.
There have been clashes between Dracula and myself about who rules what area in the evenings.
Wolfman says, I'll fix him. So what did Wolfman do? He bit off two of my fingers.
I'm not exactly the leader, but I'm not the last person in the trio either.
Wolfman, Frankenstein, and Dracula. That's three feared names. We terrorize people.
A lot of our behavior, destroying property and people and things, is well beyond our control.
We were outcasts. And so, as fellow outcasts, we understood one another in a way that nobody else in the world could understand us.
When any of us are in public, we adopt the public persona that most people expect. When we're alone and we don't have that pressure, we could be, and often are, quite different.
When the three of us were together, we could just be ourselves totally. We did so many things to brighten each other's lives.
He can tell a joke. Frankie tells the best jokes.
I found out early in my life that I had a fairly good singing voice. Well, lo and behold, Wolfman and Dracula sang very well.
We just sat there and talk, and we just have a good old time.
Wolfman kind of howled when he sang, but it was unique and it was in key. And Dracula had a lovely tenor voice.
It helps to just be able to sit down and talk to one another about trials and tribulations.
We never really got an opportunity to perform other than for our own pleasure.
We'd go out for drinks, we'd go to movies, we'd do things like that. But it became too much of a difficult thing to do and put a lot of pressure on us because of people's expectations of who we are.
He sits there doing nothing while they wing him through the skies, sipping silent cocktails with 100 lonely guys. He's moving up, he's got it made in other people's eyes. Why does he feel so weary when he flies? That's the song.
And we were getting along real good, and we decided to have us a party.
We were invited to Count Dracula's castle for dinner one evening.
We invited all these people over.
Dracula, of course, was a wonderful host.
I really invited him just for the blood.
We had a good time.
I was having a good time, of course. I always have a good time when I go to a party.
He always had a side of beef for the Wolfman.
Oh, we had all kinds of food to eat.
Didn't cook it or anything, just had the side of beef and let the Wolfman attack it any way he wanted to.
Wolfman, he gulped everything down, and Frankenstein, he wasn't too good at eating. He had those electrodes sticking out of his neck, and he couldn't swallow too good.
This particular night, he also brought in a small goat that on which he was going to take his evening blood.
Frankenstein, oh, well, he's having a good time. He was dancing with everybody.
And after dinner, we were listening to music and having brandy and smoking cigars.
For some reason, we've never been able to figure it out, the Wolfman decided that night that he wanted goat meat.
You know how with his big feet, how he would stomp. And the house just shook when he started to dance.
Frankenstein did something very odd.
I was still having a good time.
He was carrying the decanter of brandy
Wolfman just went and attacked that goat.
and lighting a cigar at the same time
Brought the goat down and began to devour it.
and spilled the decanter of brandy, and it caught on fire on me.
I don't know, he just had a mean streak that he started to stomp on people and beat them around.
Burned most of my hair off.
Wolfman thought, well, that's a pretty good idea. So Wolfman just started to pick them up and throw them, and for no reason at all.
I will never forgive him for that.
He jumped on this man, and he just tore him from one end to the other. And I was really shocked.
Dracula thought that I put him up to it. I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, he shouldn't have tore that guy up like that.
And so he was furious with me and demanded that I leave the castle.
I haven't seen him since.
Despite all of my explanations, I just had no choice but to go.
That was an unfortunate accident, and it has affected our relationship.
Very, very disappointing.
If things hadn't got out of hand, we'd have been friends today, but it didn't work out like that.
As the months and years have gone on, I find myself completely captivated by the notion of the wolf, and I'm trying to come to terms with that as a man. On the one hand, I'm terribly afraid of it, not knowing exactly what I'm going to do, who I'm going to harm, but there's a fascination with it too, to look in the mirror and see myself changing to become this creature. I have a sense that I am no longer human, but I am, in fact, now of the wolf family, with all the attributes that one would imagine that a wolf has. When I return to my human form, I have very little recall of exactly what I did as a wolf. No guilt, no sentiment, no human feelings for the victims of the wolf man. So they're almost two separate identities. This is something about which I have no control. It happens to me, and when it happens to me, I become the wolf and everything that a wolf is. Does that make me evil? Does that make me hideous? I don't believe so.
At the beginning, I have to admit, I looked like a monster. And so people shrieked and they ran away, and I didn't have any friends, so what could I do? I just jumped right into the role that they set up for me, like a real fool. But I do regret it. I do regret it. I did some harm in those early days, but I think I've made up for it since then. Here I was at this point in time where I saw myself as a monster. I looked in the mirror, I looked a bit like a monster, but that wasn't it really. The real thing was people treated me as a monster, and I bought it. I bought it wholesale. There was a point in time that I suddenly realized that I'm human. And it was just an amazing epiphany. It was a change in attitude to change the monster into a man. You are what you want to be. You are what you define yourself to be. A good guy, a bad guy, a monster, a charmer. Well, I'm not a charmer. Take a look at me. I'll never be a charmer, but I'm a good guy.
I am superior to regular people. Being immortal makes me superior. Being immortal means that I have no sickness. I can be shot, knifed, or anything like that, and it will not affect my body. My powers exceeds all powers. I can turn into anything I want to turn into. I can be a bat. I can be a bird. When people see me in the middle of the night, they don't know me from their brother, and they cannot see me as I really am. I think of people as somebody to feast on, not as human, but to feast on. Being a vampire, living all these thousands of years, being immortal, is no way to live. It's no life. It's too long. You've did it so many times that you hate to keep doing it over and over and over again. When I become a bat, sometimes I wish I could stay a bat, but I can't. So I become Dracula again and again and again.
Being a monster is not a pleasant job. It's not enviable. It's a lonely life.
Very lonely life being a monster.
It's a lonely life. Lonely, isolated life.
Nobody wants to do nothing with you because they know if they do, they could end up as a meal.
Being so lonely maybe makes us a little more aggressive than we might normally be. But it's lonely.
Every time you get people that really likes you, you become that monster again, and you turn those friends away from you.
People are generally not very nice. They fear us.
People judge you at a distance. They judge you with fear in their heart.
They make fun of us, particularly poor Frankenstein.
Difference is just not acceptable in our society.
Since Frankenstein and Wolfman's left, I haven't really had anybody to hang around with.
Even today, when I'm accepted in society, there's a difference between that acceptance and the relationship I had with Dracula and the Wolfman.
I do miss old Frankenstein. He was a pretty good guy. He was a big guy, and he was able to take care of anybody that was ready to harm me.
Since our little band has broken up, I sometimes think of the good days that we used to share and going out together, swapping stories about our adventures, and there have been some great adventures. Dracula has sucked the blood of so many beautiful women, and he can remember them vividly and tells us about the midnight flights through the window into their bedrooms.
There's going to come a day when we will meet up again. It may be 100 years, it may be 1,000 years from now, but we'll definitely meet up again someday.
We just had that special understanding that maybe we can use the word freaks. The world considered us freaks, and we knew that the world considered us freaks, but we knew what we were, and it was a lot more than that.
Of course, the monsters got to live too, you know.